When they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther, you know? Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it. I don't know how to change it, but I know if I keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody's going to clean it up.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Uche and Njoku. This is the Njoku School channel on YouTube. And this is the Sneaker Principal Podcast. I know some of you are like, okay, first of all, where you been? You weren't here on last Saturday, and then you weren't here last night, Saturday as well, and you're showing up on Sunday. Please forgive me. I'm trying to figure things out right now. Scheduling with being a husband, a dad, and the kids, and the 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old, and the 1-year-old, it's very, very difficult. Last night, honestly, I was all set to set up everything for last night. I'm going to be honest with you. I was exhausted. I was so, just gosh darn tired. And so I apologize. I'm going to get my life together. It's just family comes first. I got to prioritize around the family and the kids are getting older. My son now is walking around and, we can't keep him corralled anymore. So we have to follow him everywhere as he's walking and trying not to bust his head. He has a tendency of wanting to plant face first into the floor. Scary, because I'd be like, yo, dude, you're gonna have more concussions than I did playing football, and you're not even 1 years old yet. So that's the space I'm in right now, just trying to make sure that I'm taking care of that, and then amongst all the other things that are happening. But nonetheless, I'm here. Thank you so much for just allowing me to enter your space this afternoon. For those of you who are here this afternoon, thank you so much, and those of you who are watching post the live recording, thank you again for just being supportive of what I'm doing here and what I've been doing for over a year now. And some good news. Some of you already know that I passed the 1,000 subscriber mark at the beginning of the year. It was in February. And now I'm about to pass the 4,000 hours of actual viewership. So the amount of hours people have been watching videos on this channel over the past 365 days, I'm literally 2 hours away. I think I've already hit it today. But as of YouTube's algorithm, I'm literally at 3,998 hours. So 2 more hours and this channel gets monetized. Isn't that cool? So I'm super excited, but I want to definitely thank you so much for those of you who've been supporting, especially my amazing wife, who's also my executive producer. I want to thank you so much because I wouldn't be able to do this without you and your support throughout this whole entire pandemic and me having a crazy idea of making YouTube. Actually, I was already making YouTube videos, but actually doubling down and actually creating this podcast as well. So thank you so much for that. So today, as you can see, this is the 59th episode, and I want to cover 3 things today. 3 things, and I'm going to go in order. The first I'm going to talk about is Bitcoin, and some of you are like, okay, what about Bitcoin? Yes, I am not a Bitcoin specialist by any means. I am a regular old teacher. My present vocation is I am a school leader, school principal. I am those of you who've been following me know I'm teaching financial literacy at my school, and I'm actually working on establishing a multi-year sequence at my school to make sure that my students are ready to enter the world and being financially literate, because a lot of us, I know a lot of you who are watching as well, did not receive the appropriate guidance around money and finance and beyond just going to school, getting grades, go to college and get a good job, but really understanding how do you establish and create financial freedom for yourself, for your family, for the next generations. That was something that wasn't talked about. It wasn't because it wasn't a topic that couldn't have been taught or talked about. It was something that was excluded from my education. And I've noticed as an educator for the past 15 years, it's something that's been excluded in a lot of school education. There are schools where you have amazing leaders, school leaders and district leaders, and citywide and statewide leaders who are saying, okay, in our communities, we're going to do this. But it's not mandated across the board, which is shameful. And as I'm teaching this course with my students about financial literacy, we're covering the whole entire gamut of what's happening, including Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit. And then after that, I want to also talk to you about something I saw this morning. I went for my morning run, and at the conclusion of my run, I stopped at the gas station to get some coffee and grab my Wall Street Journal and grab my Financial Times. I like to get the Sunday editions because it kind of sets you up seeing what happened the week before and kind of sets you up for what might be happening in the upcoming week in the financial world. But right next to it was a copy of the New York Post. And on the cover is a picture. No, I'm going to tell you the headline. The headline says says Black Lives Mansions. And the thing that's disturbing about that is the fact that they decided they wanted to throw let me make sure I say her name right, because I always mess up her name. Patrisse Kahn-Cullors, yes, Patrisse Kahn-Cullors, who is one of the founders of the Black Lives Matters movement, and they're throwing her under the bus in this article, saying that because apparently she's using her clout, her fame, or her position right now to build up this portfolio of real estate. And she just apparently bought a $1.4 million house in an enclave of Los Angeles. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I have a lot to say about that, because I'm like, okay, so because this sister is doing amazing things for the Black community and people of color, she's not allowed to, but they're making it seem like she's profiting from it. But she's not allowed to have a living or an income or have some kind of benefit from the spoils of her idea and her passion. I'm going to talk about that, and there's some. I was pushed to think outside the box, and I came up with some things that is very interesting to me, and I think it might be interesting to you as well. And the last thing I want to talk about is DMX, Earl Simmons, God rest his soul. There's nothing more I can add to it. I didn't know him personally. I was just a kid who he was part of the soundtrack of my youth, college, especially being a kid from Los Angeles who went to school in New York and got baptized by New York hip hop. I grew up in LA, DJ Quick, NWA, MC8. Like that was the era, the space I grew up in, West Coast gangster rap. When I went to college in New York and I got into hip hop. It's all hip hop, but I got into the roots hip hop of New York. DMX is one of the artists that literally empowered me as a thinker, empowered me as a young man, he will sorely be missed. I do want to talk to him. I do want to talk to him briefly, along the lines of the same thing that I saw yesterday. This is from yesterday. I think it was yesterday's cover of the Daily News, and the way he was portrayed on that cover, and I want to talk to about that as well. All right. So with that being said, let's go to the beginning. Let me set up my screen here. I like to set things up. And those of you who are listening, you're not going to miss anything. I just like to set the ambiance of, here we go, the ambiance of my content. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this real quick. Here we go. I like my picture-in-picture, nice and round, circular. Here we go. So right here, what I'm showing you right now is Bitcoin. So many people are watching this, and those of you who are in the know, and first of all, I'm going to tell you this. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a Bitcoin cryptocurrency specialist. I'm just a regular guy who is paying attention to financial markets, who's paying attention to the world and society, and trying to make meaning of it and try to figure out what is my place in this world. What is the place that I'm setting up for my children, for my family, and for my loved ones, and my loved ones includes my students as well. And Saturday night, I received a phone call, not a phone call, a text message from my brother. He's my partner in crime in this financial space. He hit me up. He's like, "Yo," he sent me a screenshot, and the screenshot was I should share that as well, but it would take me too much time to go find it and post it. It was a picture of for the day. No, I think it was for live at that moment in time, the movement of Bitcoin. It was a straight line up. It was literally a straight line up. And I was like, what's going on? So I jumped on there and I looked and I was like, oh snap, Bitcoin's about to hit 60,000. Nothing new. Bitcoin had already hit 60,000, didn't stay there long. Hit 61, didn't stay there long. If anything, what I'm showing you right now is the present, actually it's the 1 year track for Bitcoin. So let me show you over the course of the past month, if it will let me. Okay, here we go, for the past month. And here you can see Bitcoin has been as low as 51 in the past month as low as 51. And those of you who know, Bitcoin, honestly, at the beginning of the pandemic, let me find the right 2020. Let me see here. So let's say February, March, April. So let's say a year ago. Let's say April 13th, a year ago, Bitcoin was at roughly about 6,000, 6,800. Okay, this shows you right here on the screen, April 13th, 2020. Okay, so right now we are, what is this now? What's today's date? Today's April 11th. So a year ago, it was at $6,000 a coin. Okay, and it was $6,856.80. All right, and today it is 59. I remember, what was that? That was 2000. The last time Bitcoin went crazy and everybody was in the world was going nuts. Bitcoin was that was 2017 December when Bitcoin was like hitting 20,000. It was like 19,000. Everybody was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And if you look even further back than that, we're talking about, let's say, what I have here is 5 years ago. So as early as possible, let me see here. I have here for April 29th, 2016, Bitcoin at $452.24. So you can only imagine when it had gotten to December of 2017, and it was at 20,000, people who bought back then, who didn't even know what they were buying, people who bought earlier when Bitcoin was like $13, $10 a coin, literally overnight made a fortune, not even a small fortune, they made a huge fortune. And some people literally became multi-millionaires in that time frame. Of course, because of FOMO, which means fear of missing out, people started jumping in and buying, and that's what really pushed it to that 19 range. But of course, everything that goes up must come down, and it just kind of slowly sputtered and went back down and got back down to it got down as low as $3,000 a coin. People lost their minds. People were like, oh my God, put all my money in here, and it never went back up. And it's kind of sputtered, But the funny thing about the sputtering, it wasn't just a sputter. It was like it normalized itself because people were the reason why. It's human behavior where it went up. And then from there, it started to, I think it went to the 3,000s. Then by 2019, and this is before the pandemic, things started to climb up again. It got to 10,000 and 7,000. But and the thing about cryptocurrency is super volatile. It's still based on human behavior and what people are buying and selling and people who are trying to speculate on it. And of course, the pandemic happened. And by the time we got to, about the end of 2000, actually, let me find a better number. By midsummer, it was 9,000. By the time you got to September 2020, it was 10,000. Then from there, it just started climbing. And it climbed and it climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed all the way till the beginning of this year. Let me see, let me find a good date. Beginning of this year, I want to say about, January 1st. By January 1st, it was $33,000 a coin. People who bought and held earlier or were just buying little by little saw their money just grow exponentially. And of course, people went crazy again. But the thing that's been going on throughout this whole entire thing is the fact that a lot of people were stuck in this space where they were saying to themselves, it's not real, it's fake. You would hear from big banks and financial institutions, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan's, like, this is all fake. Warren Buffett to this day says it's based on nothing. So it's not real. But now we're in a space where, if you've been paying attention to the news, you have Elon Musk who bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin, and all these banks and institutions, insurance companies are starting to add Bitcoin to their portfolios. So now it's different now. Now it's like, okay, this is real. It's still super volatile. It going back to those days of being $400, $10,000, $3,000. Some people are wishing they can go back to those days, but we're long gone from there. But now we're in a space now where, let me go back to the past week. For the past week, it's been this. It lives in the 50s, and it got as low. I think the lowest it got to in the past week was I want to say 55. And people were panicking, even though, if you think about it, this is something that a year ago was literally, not even a tenth? Not even, is it even a tenth? Or less than a tenth its value today. So here we are now. Bitcoin, it is what it is. And for me personally, I pay attention to it. I'm trading options and I'm buying stock around companies that are involved in Bitcoin. And why is that? Because I personally believe, again, this is just me, 100% me. I believe that we're entering into a world that we're not ready for. A lot of us are not ready for because we're so busy staying on the sidelines watching, and then we find ourselves being like, oh my God, I should have, I could have. But my thing is, I'm actively just going to make sure that I have a stake in this space, even though a lot of us still don't understand. Like I literally finally understood in a very, very basic elementary kindergarten preschool level blockchain. You know, I had to watch a bunch of videos. I had to actually, you know, I think I made it through about halfway through the white paper on by Satoshi Yokomura. I think Satoshi, I forget his last name, Satoshi, the alleged mystery person or mystery group of people who wrote the white paper on Bitcoin. And the thing that I'm seeing here is that we live in a world now where things are changing. There's a shift happening that's right in front of our faces, but a lot of us not paying attention to. And for me, aha moment hit me personally, and I might be completely wrong on this. And if you are watching this and you're like, okay, bro, you're not understanding this, please stop talking, or here's the better explanation. Please help me out here. Let me tell you what happened to me on Saturday night. Saturday night, which would have been right about here, okay? Saturday night, today, no, Saturday night would have been, oh, no, so Friday night, actually. Friday night, right about here, okay? Actually, Friday itself, Friday, for the most part, was like, Bitcoin was like, it was doing this thing where it was like, you know, it was like, I think it got as low as, let me see here. So 57, it was in the 57 range, 58 range, and just kind of did sideways, okay? So, and I was kind of, I won't lie, I was a little upset because my options that I was hoping to close, hoping to close last week, I wasn't able to close. I'm not in trouble. It's just that it's a waiting game for Bitcoin to rise, so the stocks that I'm invested in can make movement too, so I can make a profit. So I was kind of like, whatever. I guess I'm gonna have to wait till Monday to see what happens next. And then I got this thing from my brother, and I'm seeing this line right here, this line shooting up. Okay, that line that right about there where the line is starting to shoot up, and that's why I started to observe. And I'm sitting there watching, and I'm watching Bitcoin hit 60, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's happening." Where the movement to the next cycle, where people are predicting Bitcoin's going to hit, you know, as high as 100,000 before the end of the year, and I'm like, "Okay, this is Bitcoin now moving from 50s into the 60s." I'm like, "Here we go." So I'm watching this, right? I'm watching, and it's doing this thing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and eventually, let me see, can I find it? Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit better. Okay. Sorry guys, it's just trying to do this on the screen. My iPad is okay. I'll tell you right about here, right in this range, right this whole range here. This was Friday night, and I was about to go to bed, so I ended up staying up and watching this thing, and I'm texting back and forth with my brother. And all of a sudden, I see it hit 60. And then it dumps down. I'm thinking, okay, wow, it's in the 60s. But I'm thinking maybe it's probably going to just go back down to 58, 57s, whatever. But it's done that before. And I would like to say this. Within the span of less than 2 minutes, I saw the price go from 60 to 61. And I was like, what's going on here? So my brother going back and like, what's going on? Because when you see prices like this, and then it finally came back down towards this right here. It finally came back down. It hit 61. It got back to the 60s and kind of lived it for a while. Then it got as low as, I want to say it got back as low as in the 58s range or so. They went back up, and now it's living 59. And some people might be like, okay, you did all that for what? But if you look at the whole entire range, for the past week, it's now living above what has been typical for it, that 58, 56 kind of like space. Now it's been steady for the past 3 days above 59, you know, but anything can change at any given time. We know that. But let me share with you a conversation I had with my brother. And I was like, you know, he and I, we like to talk to each other, and we're like, okay, what's really going on here? So we're talking about this, and we're talking about this right here, this space, what happened here? Why did it go up? And the student in me is like, I need to understand, because people, when you watch videos about Bitcoin or the market, people say the market is going to do what the market is going to do. Bitcoin's going to do what Bitcoin's going to do. And that is complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. Bitcoin is not a living, thinking entity. The market is not a living, breathing entity. It doesn't it doesn't eat, it doesn't sleep, it doesn't just do whatever it wants to do. Okay, if you said a lion is going to do what a lion is going to do, I'd be like, yes, bet. But a lion has instincts, it has its own innate, in its program, its DNA characteristics. A lion sees you, it's not happy, it's going to bite your head off. Okay, a lion is hungry, it's going to run you down and eat you. A snake is scared, it's going to bite you. A snake is hungry, it's going to attack. Like these are things you can say that are normal for living beings. Human beings, same thing. We have emotions, we are thinking everything. But the market is dictated. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. Please do not. This is simply story time. So do not take this as fact. But if this makes sense to you, then it makes sense to you. The market is definitely dictated by human beings and what we do. Okay, and retail investors, which are regular people who are just on their own buying and selling Bitcoin or buying selling stock, institutions, big companies that have millions of dollars, hedge funds, investment houses, okay, they're still being run by human beings, people, specialists who are there that control those major multi-billion-dollar entities. So this is what I think I saw. This is what I saw. I saw a price that was in the 50s. Okay. And the reality is, if you've been listening to the news, all these entities are talking about how they're adding Bitcoin and crypto into their portfolios. But my question is, what price are you adding it at? Okay, because at the end of the day, if you're a business and you want a product, you want the product as cheap as possible. Okay, or if the product is going to be going up, you want to be able to benefit from a cheaper price than everybody else is paying for it. But the thing about what I've learned from the market is, when things start moving, people start acting. And people start acting based on their fears. So this is what I saw. I saw an opportunity with the prices being around in the 50s, well, let's say 50, 57, 58 range. Okay, to realize by buying into the market, we're talking about millions of shares to add to your portfolio. I'm talking about major companies, major banks, whoever. That by doing that, what you're going to do, you're going to create a supply and demand issue. Okay. By buying, it's going to be less supply, which means the price is going to go up, okay? And by doing that, people are going to start panicking, like, what's going on? But people who already have the stock, who are in there for a profit, are going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to be able to make a profit off of this, okay? And so this is what happened in my own imagination brain. The big banks, the hedge funds said, insurance companies, those companies who are like, okay, we need to get Bitcoin into our portfolio because now this is legitimate. This is the legitimate form of currency. We still don't know how to use it, but we need to get this. Okay, but it's decentralized, and the only way we can get it is by going to the open market and purchasing it. But by purchasing it, we're inherently making it more expensive because we need to buy a whole bunch of it. We're not buying $100 worth of Bitcoin. We're buying $1 million, $2 million worth of Bitcoin, which is actually going to shift the market. So they went in there and started buying. And as they bought, they pushed the price up. As they pushed the price up, people who held it, retail investors who held it were like, oh my God, my shares that I bought at 30 or 40 or 50 just is now going up. Those of us who bought it at 50, or bought it in the 40s, all of a sudden we're seeing the opportunity to make a profit. It might be $100, $200, $300, $1,000, $500, $600, $600,000 of profit, whatever the number is. There's profit there for the retail investors. So people started buying and cashing out. How do I know? I'm watching different live events on YouTube, and people are talking about, oh my God, I just made money. I'm cashing out right now. My investment just like went up 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%. And I'm watching that. And as it hit 60, it went down because people are cashing out. So the value went down because they're cashing out, so they're throwing more crypto in or more Bitcoin into the market. And then all of a sudden it just shot up to 61, which meant because they put more into the market, it became cheaper again. So whoever who had the big bucks started buying more, pushing the price up to 61. I mean, it was so fast. Literally in less than 2 minutes, it went to 61. And I'm thinking to myself, they just bought at a discount. So they were keeping the overall cost of their Bitcoin at a certain price, understanding that now is going to be inherently more expensive because of what they did. And of course, by doing that, it went, the price, as they bought more, the price became more expensive. It hit 61. So those people who were holding for 61 sold as well now. So it went back down again. So buyers and sellers were pushing the market up and down, up and down. And now we're sitting 59. And I'm thinking to myself, I just saw the market do what the market does, which is based on human behavior. Okay. And I'll tell you this, it was exciting to me, but then it was also depressing. And actually, it became depressing the following day. The nighttime, I was like, oh my God, this is great. Because I'm thinking for myself, come Monday, Tuesday, hopefully this keeps on happening so I can I could profitably close out my option plays that I have right now going on. But then, of course, the teacher, the scholar in me started thinking, what does this really mean for people who are not aware of this space? People who are not living in this crypto world. What does this mean? People who are not aware, people who are just not connected to it. What does this mean? And the people I'm talking about are, I'm going to be honest. I live here in America. I grew up in the hood. I grew up in Inglewood, California. People didn't talk about investing. The most I ever heard about was real estate. But people didn't talk about the stock market. People didn't talk about all these ways of making money that those who are in power have. The only ways we were taught was to go and work. So we have a working class of Americans who are literally below, they don't have a ceiling. They're below the floor. Okay, there's a floor space and they work below the floor. And they're the ones who keep the economy moving forward. And my thing is they live in a cash world, but right now, a lot of conversations about how cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, all these decentralized monetary systems are going to change banking, change the world, change the systems. And my question is this. If we know this, should we all, in some capacity, hold some amount of Bitcoin or any sort of, established cryptocurrency as part of our portfolio, as part of our savings? And some people might say, well, yeah, you could do that, but you can't really spend it. It's kind of hard to spend. But I look at it as, okay, if all of a sudden somebody gave me physical gold bullions, gold coins, yes, somebody say, yeah, that's easier to spend, but is it really? Because I still got to take that gold coin, find a place to trade that gold coin for a monetary value, which is going to cost me fees and everything else, and then what I get back might not be the full value of that itself, unless I'm trading gold bullion, gold nuggets with somebody else who has gold nuggets, who now has a scale that we could chip gold coins and figure out how the gold itself, to figure out how to barter it for goods and services, like things were done at one point in time in history. And Bitcoin is like that. And my question is this: how does this bode well for us, Black folks, brown folks, poor people who are not part of the conversation? Because what I saw on Saturday was a mad dash to accumulate, to hoard Bitcoin. But the reality is, I saw an article that says about 6% of Americans actually own Bitcoin. And another 7% are planning to purchase Bitcoin. And I think that article might have been a year or two old, but I still want to say that if somebody told me that 20% of Americans own Bitcoin, I would be like, that's not true. Because it's still such a foreign concept for a lot of people. But I also saw an article or interview where a gentleman was talking about how Black America needs to, at some capacity, some amount, hold some Bitcoin. Okay. The thing about Bitcoin, you don't have to hold Bitcoin for $59,000. You can hold Bitcoin $10 worth, $100 worth, $1,000 worth. But my thing is this, and this might be 100% conspiracy, and forgive me if I'm going in that space, but I live in a world where I'm just like, anything can happen. But once upon a time, COVID-19 was a conspiracy, right? Until people started dying, and we were like, oh snap, this is real. If the economy was to change, dollars loses value, to be super, or there to be super hyperinflation, or something crazy with the economy, what do you have outside of the dollar to protect you, to fall back on? And the reality is, people are all about dollar bill, y'all. That's all they think about. So my thing is, at some point in time, listen, not we, okay? This is what I'm doing, okay? And I'm asking you to think about it. I am literally collecting and purchasing Bitcoin and some other altcoins, alternative coins. Very little, very, very little. I might get $50 worth, $100 worth, $25 worth, my loose change to buy more of that, and I'm hoarding it. I'm not even trading it. I'm hoarding it. Because my thing is this: I'd rather be prepared for a future that is uncertain than to get to that uncertain future and not be prepared for it. And it's one of those things where, like I talk to my students about, and we've been having conversations about, and reading articles, and we're like, some people are like, well, but maybe you're just tripping, maybe you're just over imagining this. So let me show you something that made me really think twice about this. So right here is an article, and this is in the BBC. It says cryptocurrencies, why Nigeria is a global leader in Bitcoin trade. So Nigeria is a third world country. That's my home nation. That's where I was born. I was born in northern Nigeria. I lived there. I went to school in Nigeria. I went to Air Force military school in Jos. I'm a Naija boy, for real, But it just so happens that the majority of my lifespan has been outside the country. But that's my homeland. I'm an Igbo boy from Imo State, Owerri. Okay, Emi, that's where I'm from. So when I see these articles, I'm asking myself, okay, what's going on in Nigeria and what's going on with Bitcoin? So there's been a push by the federal government in Nigeria to ban Bitcoin, okay? But what's interesting, people are not just trading Bitcoin. They're actually, this article says that in Nigeria, they're seeing one of the largest P2P usage of Bitcoin, meaning that I am actually paying you for a product or good or services using Bitcoin. Okay, regardless of what the value is, we've come to an agreement and we're saying, okay, I want to buy that motorcycle, that car, but I don't want to use the Naira because the Nigerian Naira or the US dollar, I don't trust the value of it. So because this is more valuable, I will give you whatever the percentage or the value of that Bitcoin is to translate to the value of that car. Let's do this. And more people are doing this. So they're creating their own economy, outside of the main economy using Bitcoin. And there's so many other countries that are doing this as well. In Africa and Middle East, and some Asian countries are starting to be the leaders in ordinary people using Bitcoin back and forth to trade. And I'm thinking this is crazy. Because the reality is they're doing it because they can't rely on the value of their own currency in the country. Now, the Nigerian Naira has been a hot mess for decades. So people are not finding a way around it, saying, okay, I trust that what I'm trading for you is super valuable. And what I'm getting from you for this purchase, this currency, is something that I rely on, I can trust. That is amazing to me. Because here in America, we're trusting right now the economy as it stands. We're trusting the banks, the Federal Reserve, and all these different things. But the reality is, I don't know about you, I watch the news all the time, and they talk about how, the $2 trillion or $1 trillion or whatever that was passed. Where does that money come from? It's pretty much printing more money and banking on the value that was been printed to catch up with inflation and the growth or the decrease of the economy, which is kind of scary because that means, listen, think about this. If I can just print money, what's the value of that money? But these are the things that's happening in all these countries. I'm not an economic specialist, but my common sense says this is crazy. But I'm seeing this in Nigeria, and I'm asking myself, why are Nigerians ahead of Black folk here? Because people who are doing this, listen, go online, look at the documentaries. These are not rich people in Nigeria who are like, oh my God. These are people who are saying, I'm going to take whatever money I have and purchase Bitcoin and then use Bitcoin to trade. And this is, to me, that's incredible. But I feel like we are, here in America, so disconnected. We're in the silence watching this. And I'm refusing to watch. I am purchasing Bitcoin. I am purchasing some other altcoins And I'm just like, listen, I'm not spending. I put it to the side because I don't know. Some people are buying. Some people are building bunkers for the end of the world. I think we need to start preparing for the possibilities of a shift in the economic atmosphere and be ready for that. And too often, people of color, we're just not in the space. We think it's too expensive. It's not. This is white people stuff. And I'm like, come on. You got to be in a space where you're making choices around your financial ecosystem that makes sense. Yes, I still have dollars. Yes, I still use credit, but I'm investing in the stock market using U.S. dollars. But I'm taking a portion of my profits and I'm purchasing Bitcoin. Because what if? And I'm be honest with you, I'm about to start putting. I'm also thinking about my children. I'm also saying, okay, listen, maybe the Bitcoin itself doesn't become something that is actualized in my lifetime as far as its usage, but maybe it's something I can pass on to my children. Again, don't forget, Bitcoin was literally $400 or whatever it was. What was the number again? 5 years ago? What? $475? 5 years ago? And today it's. So I'm just thinking to myself, and the funny thing about 5 years ago, I knew what it was. I knew about it, but I was like, okay, this is some weird people doing stuff. I don't know what they're talking about, so I'm not playing with that. I remember telling somebody, like, nah, I'm good. Like, I need to see where this goes first. And I sat on the sideline, and yeah, it went from $500 to $59,000 now. And you see right here, Bitcoin has been living. This is the space it's living in. As a matter of fact, look at this. Bitcoin has increased 14,080% in 5 years. That's the value. You're trying to get a interest on your money in the savings account from 5 years ago would have been 0.0001, right? And it probably would have not grown. It actually probably went down. Okay, somebody who just bought one coin for $400, $500 5 years ago. This is how much that coin is worth now. So imagine people who were like, okay, I'm gonna buy. Imagine people who, when it was $13, $14, $20, and said, I'm gonna buy $100 worth of Bitcoin. 5 coins. 5 coins would put them at what? Over 100? What? No. 5 coins would put them at $300,000. But I'm not saying this because I'm not saying this for the purpose of just making you excited about, go buy Bitcoin. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. This is not financial advice. I'm just telling you how I'm thinking. Something is happening, and I'd rather be ready for it than not be ready for it. And for me to be ready for it, I am purchasing Bitcoin. I'm also purchasing other altcoins, and I'm not buying a whole bunch of it. I'm a school teacher, principal. I don't have that kind of money, but it doesn't mean I can't put little at a time to the side, because you never know. The little fractional shares that I purchase adds up, and that's the thing right here. That's the truth about Bitcoin and that I'm seeing here, and it's very important. It's very, very important that we start to rethink about our financial literacy beyond just having good credit. You got to have good credit, and beyond just having your savings, you should have savings. Beyond having enough for a rainy day, for emergency, having the 3 month of income just in case something happens. You should have all that, but you should also have what I call your end of the world money. Okay, I'm not talking about end of the world as far as the end of days, but what happens when the economy shifts, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, what happened? And we've seen it. We saw it in 2008. Okay, we saw with the pandemic. Okay, those people who lost their jobs, who could never go back to it, if they had Bitcoin or a lot of other altcoins already saved in their they already had those sitting there, they could have literally cashed out and had tens of thousands of dollars to live off of and not have to rely on the government. This is what I'm saying right now is not just about for clicks or for viewership. This is real talk, and again, I haven't come across a lot of people talking about this, and I'm pretty sure they're out there, but you start doing your homework. Start doing your homework. Myself personally, and I would give a shout out to my brother, Real Talk Cali. We talk about this. And And there's things happening. I talk to my students about this. We need to be smarter. We need to look at what the banks are doing. Right now, if Elon Musk bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin, why did he do that? If Mass Mutual, one of the oldest insurance companies in the country, said, we're going to, I think they're devoting, I might be wrong about this, 20%, or it's probably less than that, but still, of their portfolio, even if it's 2% of their multi-billion-dollar portfolio to Bitcoin. They're saying something is happening here, that this thing that we thought was fake 5 years ago is now real. Go online and Google Bitcoin and see all the articles and see all the banks and all the legitimate institutions now are saying, "Oh no, we gotta find a way." Tesla says you can buy a car using your Bitcoin. And my question is, okay, that sounds to me like they're saying, listen, we want your Bitcoin. Okay, we're gonna give you a chance. If you rather buy with Bitcoin, we'll take it. Okay, because when we take it, we're not spending it. We're gonna keep it. There's going to be a shortage of Bitcoin. Okay, and for those of you who don't understand, okay, the way the algorithm was created, there could only be 21 million Bitcoins. Right now, I think it's at over 18 million Bitcoins. Okay, so that's it. Okay, 21 million Bitcoins, and I think they said roughly about 2 to 3 million of it is already lost. People who had it and lost their passwords. So those coins are finite, meaning that, like, literally, it is super valuable, because if you have access to a little bit of it, or you had a whole coin, listen, there are people out there who are saying, I'm not selling it, period. I'm holding on to it, because that is my emergency. That is my end of the world right there. Because when the time comes, if the time comes, that's something I can rely on. But it's going to be super valuable. It's only 21 million of it. And there's 7 billion people. And right now, the big companies are starting to hoard it. Set yourself up. That's all I got to say. Set yourself up. I know this was very doom and gloom, but it's one of those things where I'm talking to my students about. I'm like, hey, guys, you need to start understanding this, And the great thing about it, buying crypto is not hard. It's not hard at all. You go on YouTube, how do I buy cryptocurrency? There's a million videos out there. But the question is this. It's not about how easy it is. How willing are you to start to hedge yourself for possibilities? It's better for you to be ready for a possibility that might not come to fruition than to have that possibility come to fruition and you're not ready. Okay? And if the pandemic taught us anything, the world has changed. The world has changed, and it's continuously changing. So right now, I've had Bitcoin on the screen this whole entire time, and literally, it's been, it's living in 59. It's living in 59. It's not going up. It's not going down. Question now, tomorrow, what happens? What happens? And what happens when the next buyout happens? Is it going to sit there quietly, or is it going to keep shooting up? People are predicting that Bitcoin is going to hit $100,000 this year. There are people out there who are saying that Bitcoin will reach over $1 million a coin. That sounds ridiculous, but it also makes sense when you're only talking about there only being, let's say 21 million coins. If 3 million coins are missing, that means there's only really about 18 million coins, give or take. And there's over 7, pushing 8 billion people on the planet. It's not enough for everyone. So the rich, the powerful are going to try to hoard it and get it. And guess what happens? If you have none of it, even just a little bit of it, you're left out. And then you have to now live according to the rules that are set for you, and which is probably going to be continued fiat currency. Even if the fiat currency itself, if paper money keeps dwindling to nothing. All right, I'm going to stop talking there. And that was all I wanted to share this morning about Bitcoin and what I saw this weekend. And it was incredible. It was incredible watching it do what it did. And now I'm thinking, like, what's going to happen next? This is crazy. Guys, I'm going to tell you this. My people, black, brown people, yellow people, poor people, whatever you are, indigenous people, stop talking about basketball. Stop talking about football. Stop talking about, who's in the shade room or whatever the case is. Stop talking about money in your household. Stop playing. Stop playing. Start talking about money. What is your position? What is it that you're doing? How are you securing yourself? Straight up. Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it scares me to death. It's going to happen. We're going to find ourselves in a position where the economy is going to shift again. And it's going to be the greatest. We've already had a couple of great transfers of wealth. It's about to be crazy shift in control and power in this world. And the reality is this: you can be part of it by paying attention to it and doing the things to set you up for it. You might not win the way you want to win, but at least you won't lose. And people are going to be losing really, really soon. And I'm going to say this again: if my people in Nigeria are like, we see it coming, we're trading and living on Bitcoin right now, and the government's trying to stop it, and they still can't stop it. There's a ban on using Bitcoin, and they still can't stop it, because it's decentralized. The only way to stop it is to shut down the internet. Literally, that's the only way. Shut down the internet, and people can't communicate. And we know that if that happened, it would literally be, Walking Dead. Like, seriously. I mean, can you imagine the internet ceases to exist? But because the internet exists, that is why something like Bitcoin is very possible. It's possible and it's working. All right. So I'm gonna stop with that. All right. So thank you so much for just allowing me to indulge in that talk. So let's move to something else now. And something interesting, and this is really, really quick. This morning I went for a run. I went for my run, and on the way back I kind of looped around to the gas station to get me a little medium coffee. And I usually I've been picking up the Saturday Wall Street Journal and the weekend Financial Times, because I like to read up on what's been going on. I don't have the time or the capacity to sit in front of the TV and watch MSNBC all the time. And I won't lie, like most of my news comes from YouTube and YouTubers, and often it's very sensationalized and it's really about getting clicks and stuff like that. It's entertaining, but I want to also know what's happening from the business world as well. And some people might say, well, you can't trust all that, but I'll tell you why I trust it. Because most people don't read it. Most people don't read the Wall Street Journal. Most people don't read the Financial Times, and the articles in there. And I'm watching stuff, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense why this happened. So, and that's why I've been picking up the fact that so many companies are buying Bitcoin, because they literally tell us this, but we don't read it. So I'm buying my papers, and I see on the shelf this sucker right here. What I see is this, and what this is this is Patrisse Kahn-Cullors, who is one of the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement. And this article says that Marxist, they call it Marxist, BLM, Black Lives Matter founder, racks up $1 million property empire with at least 4 homes. Okay, first of all, I don't know how a multi-million-dollar empire is 4 homes. That sounds to me like somebody who's just doing their thing, trying to establish financial freedom for their folks. I'm just saying. But if they said she had like 40 homes, I'd be like, damn, girl, I see you. But still, I'm thinking about this. Like, okay, what is this about? It says Black Lives Matter, and shows this right here is supposed to be her $1.4 million home she purchased for herself. That is in a enclave of Los Angeles. Then $115,000 home in Georgia, $590,000 house in South LA, and of course Inglewood, $510 home in Inglewood, California. And it's funny about this, that I think that's hilarious to me, is the fact that this article is trying to say that she has taken financial advantage of her position, of the Black Lives Matter movement to kind of like enrich herself. And my response is, I don't understand. Because first of all, the $500,000 house in Inglewood, South LA, these are black neighborhoods. They're being gentrified now, but I grew up in Inglewood, okay? And that's a cheap house. That's a cheap house in LA now. The $415,000 house in Georgia, okay, all right. The $1.4 million house in LA, to me, it sounds normal, actually. It's actually very normal, okay? I mean, it's a nice house, but it's like in Topanga Canyon, that's a poor man's house right there, okay? So I'm watching this, I'm like, what are they trying to say? But what are they trying to try and get at her, saying because she is Black Lives Matter, it's about the poor people, the struggling, and all the people that police brutality and all the things that's happened, that she's over here getting rich off of, the Black Lives Matter movement. And look at the picture they put on here. No, this is a queen. She's not a sister, okay? But they're trying to demonize her for wanting to be financially free. If you've heard anything about on this channel, I've said, for me, before we even talk about equality and equity and all these different things, okay, could we talk about the financial gap that exists? Okay, the not the glass ceiling, but the hardwood floor that's preventing a lot of people from even entering to the first floor. They're like people who are living in the basement. Do your homework. Dr. King was assassinated after he started his rhetoric around uniting the disenfranchised of America, black, brown, yellow, and poor white folk as well. And they were like, no. When you start talking about economy, you bring a lot more people into the conversation, because at the end of the day, I can hate your skin color, but if I'm starving, what do I care about your skin color? Can I just eat first? And the fact that they're trying to demonize her by saying that because, she's a Marxist, socialist, because she's for the people, that this something wrong with her, that she's a hypocrite, right? So I was like, this is interesting. Like, what is this about? So let me tell you what I did personally, because I'm trying to understand. You use the word Marxist. I know what Marxist is, followers of the philosophies of Karl Marx. So I said, okay, let's do a quick Google search. And I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in, let me see here, Karl Marx. Okay, I'm sorry, Karl Marx. And if you want to know more about Karl Marx, you can go ahead. He is the father of communism and everything else for the people, a decentralized, a non-capitalist society, making sure that everybody got the same. We should all be equal level. No one should be controlled over other people. That's a very dumbed down version of what that's all about, right? But it's definitely anti-capitalist. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I typed in here is Karl Marx. I'm going to do net worth. I love looking up people's net worth. So, and I did this morning because I had never done it before. I just wanted to know, because I wanted to see that what he was worth when he passed away. Okay, does anybody see that right there? Karl Marx, the founder of. First of all, let me do this. Let me see here. Let's do this here. Blah 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 blah. Who's the father of socialism? Okay. It says here, the father of socialism. And remember, in America, we're like anti-socialists, we're anti-communism, right? It says here, the Communist Manifesto was written by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in 1848, just before the revolution of 1848 swept Europe, expressing what they termed scientific socialism. And this is the people who said, listen, it's about the people, right? So now let's go back up here again. What was his net worth? What was his net worth at the time he died? This is adjusted for inflation. So based on his net worth when he passed away in 1845, he was worth $2 billion. Billion, not million, $2 billion. Wait a minute. How do you get $2 billion as a socialist? How does the Marxist, the man who is termed from, how is he worth $2 billion? So I was like, okay, how did Marx make his money? So I was looking over here trying to figure out, like, how did he make his money? And I was like, I'm reading, he wrote books and articles and things like that. I'm like, okay, so wait a minute, writing books and stuff like that made him a lot of money? Okay, damn, I should be writing. I have a college degree. I should be writing more books to get $2 billion. But then, where was it? I found something interesting. Marx, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to invest. Karl Marx investing. I think was that it? Let me see here. Right here. The question here: did Karl Marx invest in the stock market? And you can see some articles that goes into it. So this right here, the question was: did Karl Marx invest in the stock market? Marx is seen as one of the fathers of communism, but was also involved in the London Stock Exchange. Wait a minute, he invested in the stock market? Wait a minute. So was his money just from writing books and speeches? Or was it, oh wait a minute, the article that is it's from the Globe and Mail and says here, turns out the fathers of communism were quite the savvy investors. And you can look up this article and read it yourself. Okay. So now let's go back. So Marxist Black Lives Matter founder racks up $1 million property empire with at least 4 homes. Damn, she is definitely being Marxist, because the man that Marxism is coined after was worth $2 billion when he passed away. Just because you're doing what's right for people, just because you're a freedom fighter, just because, doesn't mean that you have to be poor. If anything, being rich brings you to the table. Being rich creates access. Dr. King, Malcolm X couldn't have done what they did if it wasn't for the fact of wealthy black folk, white folk, Jewish folk who were investing, putting their money into the movement, because they knew if they put their money where their mouth was and supported these people, they could change the whole entire system. Because even those people who were poor, who were wealthy black and brown folk, were still limited on what they can do. They were investing in the future. So, sister, go buy 10, 20, 30 homes, okay, and be a model for financial freedom for everyone else. Because it can't just be about, yes, we need to stop police brutality. Black lives do matter, but also black economic lives matter. Okay, that's why my segment on financial literacy is called Financial Literacy Matters Now. It matters because if we're not financially literate, freedom means nothing. Okay? After slavery, a lot of slaves were freed, right? Hey, you're free. Go, run. Go to where? Go to where? And that's why they had all these Jim Crow laws and all these, laws that allowed for people to be re-enslaved through prison system, because they were not trained on how to be economically savvy to protect themselves moving forward. To show you how powerful, how dangerous financial freedom is, Tulsa, Oklahoma. What happened there? Greenwood, what happened there? In Florida, what happened there? People who found a way to be financially savvy and build an economy for themselves, Black Wall Street, what happened? Got burnt down. So if anything, she's telling us, beyond just fighting for freedom and what's right and Black Lives Matter, we also need to understand that our economic lives matters. That's how we get a seat at the table. Okay, money gives us a seat at the table, and this is essential. So please, don't look at these articles and start thinking to yourself, oh yeah. But I was already imagining in my head people saying, here we go. See, I'm talking about black people. They're always trying to be on a come up. The problem is that we're never collectively trying to be on a come up. That's the real problem, because if we're thinking savvy for our economy, then we'll raise our children differently, we'll build our communities differently, and we don't get pushed out of our communities because of gentrification. If anything, we own our communities and we run our communities. So I saw that and I thought to myself, I won't lie, I was upset. I came home and I told my wife, like, can you imagine this? But this is what I tell my students all the time. Because I also teach film studies and media studies. And I tell them, pay attention, do your homework. Don't just read something and just think that's it. Do your homework. I just Googled Karl Marx and he was worth $2 billion. So what are they talking about? Karl Marx was not a poor man. He had a philosophy about how to make sure that everybody was good. Whether you agree with it or you not agree with it, that's on you. But he was not a poor man by any means. If anything, he was a capitalist. He was definitely a capitalist. Okay. And so, yeah, check this out. I mean, it's interesting. And lastly, I want to talk about DMX, and I want to talk specifically about something very similar as well. Again, here in New York City, this was yesterday, I believe. The Daily News posted this cover, and I went online, looked it up, and a lot of people were praising this cover, talking about how the Daily News was giving honor to DMX. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel that way at all. Because my media studies brain, my ability to look at what content and break it apart, I was dumbfounded by how this was set up. Okay, so if you notice, just the wording, sorrow from Britain to Yonkers. Okay, I get that. People are mourning the death of Prince Philip, who was a monarch who died in '99, who was the husband of Queen Elizabeth, very important person to the British Empire. He passed away, and I think a day or two later, Earl Simmons, also known as DMX, passed away. So people in sorrow from England all the way through to here in New York City in Yonkers. But let's look at this with your third eye, okay? Beloved royal gone at 99, the prince. Okay, beloved royal. Okay, and looking at this black font, gray background, it just kind of gives you a sense of kind of like that sadness, right? Here he is with a smile, old man, grandpa, he got the band-aid on his finger, he's a very sympathetic character, right? He was 99 years old. And, but then, DMX, I don't know, I've seen so many pictures of him, and there's the picture they chose, and that look in his eyes looks kind of like someone who is upset, off the hinge. Yes, Jacob. Yes, you can definitely ask a question. Post your question, and I'll do my best to answer it. So he looks like somebody who's like, something's not right, right? But I love the fact it has a black background with the white lettering. And the question I would ask my students. Question is, do you believe Floyd was murdered? I'm not sure. How that connects to this conversation, but from what I saw, my training in the military, my understanding of mixed martial arts and what you can do when you put your knee on somebody's neck or you put somebody in a chokehold. Yeah. I believe he died at that moment with the weight of the police officer on his neck, and he died, and as a result, I believe he was murdered. In my opinion, another human being took his life. No, not at all. That's a valid question, and that's something that I'm hoping turns out well in this trial. My brother. Mentor Credit Jams. Hopefully you're doing well. It's been a while. Thank you so much for being here. So what I think is interesting about the picture of Earl Simmons is the fact that it looks like a mugshot. I'm sorry, it looks like a mugshot. And not only that, if you've ever seen a mugshot, most mugshots, even the lettering is white letters on a black background. And what does it say here? The rapper. The rapper. Okay? Brilliant but troubled musician dies. Brilliant but troubled musician dies. That bothered me immensely. I'm going to tell you why it bothered me. Okay. We all have our dark spaces. We all struggle. Okay. DMX, yes, had his issues. But he didn't. So I'm going to tell you, okay, listen, God bless the dead. I'm going to speak to you my truth. I'm Nigerian, West African. Nigeria was a colony of the British Empire. Okay. And not only that, the British, it was called the Niger, it's slipping my mind right now. First of all, Nigeria as a country, that landmass was a company. Okay. The Niger Company, I think it was called the Niger Company. Then that company sold itself to the British Empire. This is how they acquired the land. So they stole the land and sold it, okay? And this is I think once in 1800s, whatever that time frame is, Unilever, the company that still exists to this day, is the original company that owned or stole the landmass of Nigeria. But it wasn't just Nigeria, it was across the world. India, Caribbean, all that stuff. Slavery. A big, I don't know, what's the word? I'm trying to find the right word so I could be respectful of my language. Slavery was perpetuated by the British Empire, long and deep and hard before it banned it, but it was part of it. But then after slavery was over and done with, the colonies were ruled with an iron fist, stolen land. So you're talking the prince, married to Queen Elizabeth, who colonized the world, that caused a lot of pain, that caused a lot of shifting and moving of people and bodies from their homelands to other parts of the world, okay? So my question is this. This man, the beloved royal, the prince, right? How much pain and death in the world was a result of some of the decisions that was done by the British Empire, which he is part of the longest monarchy. Yes, no longer do they have that kind of power, but they represent something that is troubling to a lot of people of color, a lot of Indians, a lot of black people, a lot of people of color around the world, indigenous people, okay? Because Britain did a lot of damage around the world. So my question is this. Maybe DMX's heritage is from Turtle Island, which is the original name of North America. Or maybe his heritage is from Africa. I don't know. But either way, there were things put into place that created conditions that led to people of color in this country going through the pain and disconnect and just all the atrocities that landed them in the hood, barely surviving. And my question is this: how much of the troubled brilliance of DMX could be tied in directly to the decisions and the actions taken by the British Empire? And the Duke of Edinburgh, the Prince Philip, his other title is counsel to the Queen. Okay, he's a soldier. He's trained as a ruler. And a lot of conversations and advice, I don't know what they were, but we have a world that looks like this right now, also due to the fact of what him and his bloodlines did to the world. So I want to say this. DMX's pain, his suffering, the things he went through as a child, the things that a lot of people of color have gone through in this country, around the world, and continue to go through. You're trying to tell me you can't draw a straight line from the actions of the European conquest, which was really led by the royals of Europe. And Prince Philip is part of that heritage. So when you have something like this as a cover, where you're tongue-in-cheek, kind of like side-eye demonizing one over the other, beloved royal versus brilliant but troubled musician, he wasn't a troubled musician. He was a man, and as any man goes in this world, he had his issues. Like I have my issues. We all have our issues. But to say that Prince Philip was some sort of saint, that's a problem for me. Okay. I do want to give a big up to let me see if I can find it. No, it's not here. To BK the artist, who is an amazing New York City artist from Brooklyn. He posted this on his Instagram, and I reposted it. Because a lot of people on Instagram were feeling the exact same. They were like, "What is this trying to say?" So he redid this, and I was like, "Okay, here we go. Here we go." Okay, the power of how messaging images. Okay, this is the exact same cover, but he just tweaked it a little bit. Okay, here's a picture of DMX, the picture that how I see him. you know, and it says the king. Rap loses royalty because DMX, Earl Simmons was a king. All my brothers are kings. But beyond that, he was rap royalty. How many artists out there can say, man, the first time I heard that bark, that DMX bark, you know, Rough Riders anthem, the Rough Rider anthem, dum, da, dum, 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 da, dum, dum. To this day, every time I hear that melody, chills. You know, he inspired a lot of people. How many of you guys heard him pray? I think in a different time, a different circumstance, DMX, Earl Simmons could have been Bishop Earl Simmons. He might have been one of the greatest ministers, you know, motivators, you know, and I wonder how many lives he saved. How many? I mean, he would pray before every concert or during a concert. He would pray, tell people to hold hands and pray. I wonder how many people lives were changed because of his prayers. How many people made different choices because of his prayers. So let's look at this. Let's look at the whole man. I understand we all are troubled, but the mark of a great man is what he does in spite of his troubles. And he did a lot of things in spite of his troubles. So you know, King, Earl Simmons, DMX, Darkman X, we love you, we'll miss you. And listen, if you've ever heard his music, you ever bumped your head to his music, you're a Rough Rider. Because the way I look at that whole term Rough Rider is that, listen, when things get rough, you stay riding. You still moving forward. So I just wanted to say that real quick. Thank you so much for allowing me to, as I've been saying this to my students to my school, for allowing me the opportunity to plant seeds in your minds, your hearts, and your spirit. Hopefully you have an amazing day, and be well. And I'll see you during the week. And that's it. This is Sneaker Principle Podcast, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, peace. And real quick, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, all the